Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be explaining the US Electoral College and why electoral votes don't always match the popular vote. As you probably know, in the US, the president is not elected by receiving the most votes when counting individual ballots. That would be the popular vote. Instead, in the US, the president is elected by electoral votes. Each state is awarded a different number of electoral votes, which are cast based on the popular vote of the state. There are a total of 538 electoral votes, which are spread across the 50 states and District of Columbia. The presidential candidate that receives 270 electoral votes or more is declared the winner. The number of electoral votes a state receives is based on the number of senators and members from the House of Representatives for that state. The number of senators a state has will always be 2. However, the number of members from the House of Representatives changes based on the population, but each state has at least 1. So the minimum number of electoral votes for a state is 3. There is one exception though. The District of Columbia has 3 electoral votes but is not a state. There are at least 2 main reasons why the Electoral College does not always match the popular vote. First, some states have a lot of people but proportionally fewer electoral votes. If electoral votes were awarded evenly by population, on average, each electoral vote would represent about 600,000 people. Here's some examples to put this into perspective. Let's compare Wyoming with California. Wyoming is the least populous state while California is the most. In 2019, Wyoming had about 580,000 people and 3 electoral votes, while California had about 40 million people and 55 electoral votes. If we divide the total population by the number of electoral votes, we can see that 1 electoral vote roughly equates to 200,000 people in Wyoming, compared to 730,000 people in California. This is the most extreme comparison, but it shows how a presidential candidate can win the electoral vote without winning the popular vote. But there's probably a second, even more impactful reason why the popular vote and the Electoral College vote usually don't match. It's because electoral votes are for the most part a winner-takes-all system. If one candidate wins 51% of the popular vote, that candidate gets all of the state's electoral votes. The 2 exceptions are Maine and Nebraska, which split their 9 electoral votes differently. Based on what we know about the 2020 election, the vote was closest in these 4 states: Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Biden won all 4 by under 1.5 percentage points, but by winning each of these 4 states, he's allocated all of their electoral votes. In Georgia, the difference between winning and losing was about 12,000 votes. By winning Georgia by 0.2%, Biden got all of Georgia's 16 votes. One last example. Imagine 2 states with the same number of electoral votes. You can win one state by a huge landslide, but lose the other state by just a handful of votes. Even though many more people voted for you, you and your opponent get the same number of electoral votes. Now imagine extrapolating all these scenarios across the whole US, and hopefully you can now have a better understanding why the outcome of the popular vote does not always match the outcome of the electoral vote. I hope you learned something new from this video. Now go test your parents on these facts. Look out for my next video on the environment.